Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel, The Cool Otter. So it is with great pleasure that I want to introduce you to Sukhin Singh Sital, who is an alum of TISS ODCL program. And as usual, I have Kunal alongside with me. So great to have you both here. Sukhin is a native of Delhi. He was our batchmate at TISS ODCL program from 2022 to 2024. And over to you, Sukhin, to introduce yourself a bit for the audience, and then we'll take it ahead.
Thanks, Prakhar. Hi, Kunal. It's so great to see your faces after a couple of months. We were all together for 2 years, and now we've gone our own ways. So it's really nice to see you always. So hi everyone. My name is Sukhin. As my friend introduced, I've been living in Delhi all my life before I suddenly decided to pack my bags and move to Mumbai for my masters in ODCL at TISS. Before this, I did my undergraduate in Delhi University, BCom Honors. I moved on to work for 2 years in operations and analytics. Then this happened, and I've had the most joyous and wonderful time in these past 2 years with my colleagues and with so many of the friends that I've made there.
Right, great to listen to that. And indeed, it was a great pleasure to watch you go through that journey along with us. Sukhin, so let's jump into it. And first thing which we would want to ask is who should join TISS ODCL and TISS HRM program? What should be the expectations and how does it goes for anyone who joins it?
So the beauty of both these programs, both HRM and ODCL, is that there are no prior limitations to what background do you come from, what domain of education do you come from. It is open to everyone. For ODCL specifically, you require at least 24 months of work experience as per the cutoff date given in the admissions criteria. So that is an additional thing that you have to meet. But otherwise, when it comes to a limiting domain, there is none. This welcomes everyone with open arms, and these two courses, in the way that they are structured, they will take you through a proper business education. So they will cover all of the basics of finance, operations, marketing, etc. And they will offer you ample choices to study subjects of that particular specialization. So it is open for people who are freshers, who have just graduated from their undergraduate degrees. Sometimes people who've done their prior masters also come and apply for both of these courses. It is open to people who are working in any domain of choice, who've been working in similar areas, or if you're not working in similar areas, if you have interest in this field, then you are more than welcome to apply. So that's the beauty about TISS and both of these courses, is that no matter what background you come from, no matter where you come from, you can apply.
Yeah, Sukhin. And first of all, it's very good to see you. I would again reiterate that because it was really because Sukhin was a great friend of ours, and he helped us really in the preparation and in the journey of TISS. But Sukhin, like my question is like from the aspirant, I hear from a lot from aspirants, and when they keep asking that, what was your journey plan? Because we have known from the past 2 years that we had at ODCL that it's all about habits, patterns, and ritual. So, what was that one ritual or two or three rituals that you rigorously followed through your preparational journey that you made it to TISS ODCL?
I would say there is one ritual or one habit that has been inculcated in me thanks to my primary school. So it put us in a habit of reading the newspaper every single morning. So 45 minutes of time was dedicated to reading the newspaper every morning. And that is a habit that has continued still to this day, almost 2 decades since that has happened. So when we were writing a TISSNet had a very specific GK section. So I wasn't very worried about, where will I get to the current affairs from, because I had been following the news every single morning, every single day for the past many years. And when I was preparing for my MBA exams, I was reading the newspaper even more rigorously. So this particular habit of reading, I would say, not just newspapers, but going through blogs, articles, books, is something that sharpens your mind, sharpens your skills. It helps you out with not just in the entrance exam, but your group discussions, your interviews, your extempore. So you have content to speak about most of the issues that you read about, and you have the armory to back it up with facts and examples from the real world. So one is you're reading the newspaper every day, and two is just maintaining consistency in your efforts. So when it comes to all of these exams, there's a lot of uncertainty. Will I make it? Will I not make it? And it's very hard to lose motivation at a particular time if you've had a bad mock exam or something else during that time. So just staying consistent with it, that even if I'm having a bad day, I can only study for 30 minutes today and study for 2-3 hours tomorrow. So just that consistency is extremely important for me. So these are the two things that I followed as my mantra, as some things that I chose to do on a daily basis.
And like two things you mentioned, write the newspapers and staying consistent on the efforts. I think that's very true and that's very relatable. My like the other query that generates from what you have said, that to my mind is that like there is to be consistency to be maintained, but at the same time there are various, as you said, there are worries, there are other issues at various fronts, like in personal front, that makes you get distracted. Like you may be worrying about a situation that if you don't get into the program, what would happen, and there are various other anxieties that may generate naturally when we follow this course. So what did you do on that front that kept you motivated day in and day out, that made you stay consistent?
So to answer that, I mean the year that I was preparing, uh, it wasn't very easy for me as well. There were a lot of problems on the personal front as well, and many of these bore fruit. I wouldn't say bore fruit, but yeah, many of these came sometimes right 2-3 days, 5 days, a week before my exams. So there are times when I had to prioritize some personal emergencies and all of those things. But on the days when this was not happening, I would set apart dedicated time slots for what subject I want to study, how long do I want to study it, and this was on the basis of all of the strengths and weaknesses that I understood that were in me. So, for example, I was not good at quant, and even after putting in a lot of efforts, coaching classes, and all of that, I still wasn't that good. I did not score very well in the CAT. So I understood that there are certain limitations that I have in terms of my skills and abilities. So I chose to reach a particular level in those subjects where I could pass the other papers that were there. So yes, there is a risk criteria that comes with giving all of these entrance exams, and things do not work out at all times. So the one thing that I absolutely kept in the back of my mind was that what if I don't get into any program? And that was a question that kept playing in my mind all of the times. And eventually I realized that it's fine. It's fine if I don't make it in this year. It's fine if I ever not make it to any of these programs. Because this is not the end of life, right? A huge college or a huge B school, not getting into one is not the end of life. There are so many different ways in which you can create careers for yourself. So yes, I did not go in with a particular XYZ backup option, but only with this with this semblance that even if things do not work out, I will somehow find something that I can do, and that was very reassuring, and it gave me a lot of comfort because there was a lot of uncertainty at the time. So yeah, this is I don't know how much sense it might make to all of the aspirants. But yeah, I did consider the contingencies of not getting into any of these programs and being fine with that fact as well.
No, I think aspirants would be, whoever would be watching would be find it very relatable, because as far as my memory goes, and having seen like what we as batchmates, like we heard each other's stories and what we have went through in our own lives, that this makes a lot of sense. Because uh, cracking a very good B school or a very good college, it's one part of our life, it's not the whole life in itself. And putting so much pressure on our mind and body just to crack an examination, though it may seem justified, but at a certain level only. So until and unless it's not impacting you as a whole as a person, it's okay with it. One has to be okay with it, and one has to set up like a very realistic expectation from ourselves. So there is not only a one way to be successful in life through getting through good B schools, etc. There are other factors as well. But coming back to the point, like on the day when we are tested, that is the group discussion part or the interview part. You yourself have sat through the TISS exam, in the interviews, and then in summers we had group discussions, in the summer internships, and even in finals. So, what are your three key takeaways or any resources that you had at hand at that particular time that were very useful to you and then can be to the aspirants that are hearing us today as well?
Uh, I mean, the short answer is that the three resources are called practice, practice, practice. Uh, and I will come to the resources. But why I was able to clear all of those GDs, interviews, or whatever I sat for, is that I knew that if I somehow get to the stage beyond the entrance exam, I will somehow make it my life's goal to practice as much as I can. So I engaged the services of a mentor who was able to help me with mock interviews and GDs. So every single day, I must have given over 30 mock interviews, in 1 month, in less than 1 month, and this was before my first interview. So by the time I reached my first interview or GD or whatever process in the stage it was, it felt very natural to me. The biggest limiting factor in my experience for interviews is, thinking that what will this person ask me? Will I be able to respond or not? So just going through those motions in the form of practice helps you uncover all of those elements about yourself. That will I crack under pressure, or how much pressure does it take for me to give a wrong answer or a bad answer? When it comes to resources, firstly, I would say reading is a very important resource, because most of these times people will ask you about current affairs, about trends, about various kinds of things that are going on in organizations and in the world of business in general. Two is being mindful. So observe how you speak, observe how you interact with people. So sometimes I would sit in front of a mirror, or I would record myself speak so that I could hear what I sound like, so that I could hear what my expressions look like. So that was important for me to portray, even if I was fearful or even if I was feeling anxious, my face did not say that. And so the interviewers could not catch those particular nuances in my tone of voice, in my body language, in my face. So it's a game, right? It's a game between two people who are trying to have a very nice conversation, but sometimes you have to be smart about it. So particularly these two are things, and the third, of course, I mentioned was practice. So it's trying to stay consistent in terms of reading, to practicing these things and understanding how you react in these situations, and is doing as much of it as you can. So when it comes to resources, there are a lot of resources available across the internet. When it comes to preschool preparation, every single college will release a compendium of something, and you can find the best compendiums. So every large consulting society, these colleges will also release case books. So particularly looking at case interviews was something that helped me a lot, because case interviews are interactive, they are comprehensive, they involve a lot of calculations, facts and figures back and forth. So thinking of how I would react or how I would prepare for a case interview is something that helped set up a base. And then depending upon what domain we want to go to, we can look at domain specific preparation. Say if I want to go into HR, so I look at picking up some basic knowledge in OB, in talent acquisition. So all of these various areas that are specific to your domain of choice. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. So, Sukhin, that and I think that would be indeed helpful to the aspirants, particularly like practicing practicing yourself in front of a mirror, seeing how your reactions are the hand gestures, body movements up to that consistently to that consistent level as well. Practicing, that is an really important thing. And third, you mentioned the compendiums. I think that is right from the source's mouth, or horse's mouth, we say. But since there are also do's, there are always a list of do's. There are always a list of don'ts. So, like today is 17th of May 2024, and like 2 years before in 2022, because since you have gone through all through this journey, so what was one or two don'ts that you would tell to yourself if you had to start this preparation again? One or two don'ts for the aspirants as well.
I would say that yeah. So one thing that I think I could have done differently was not try to cover everything. At that time, you think about what will the interviewer ask me, what all will I be able to answer or not be able to answer. I tried covering everything, and there was a point when I was able to do nothing because I had just read from so many different sources that information did not make sense to me at a particular time. And that's when I chose to narrow down upon the areas that I thought would be relevant after consulting with a lot of people, with former students of the courses, with my colleagues and friends, with my mentors. So I narrowed down upon a particular list of topics that I will certainly do very well. And if I'm able to answer those questions, then I feel like I would have done a good job. When it comes to the other don'ts, not much is coming to mind right now, except for the fact that I was mentioning about how important it is to be consistent with your efforts. And there were certain periods when I did not have a particularly good mock exam or a mock interview. So it was very, very hard to move on from the fact. And, it felt like my entire career was crumbling in front of me. So a lot of people have said it, and I would also say it to all of the people who want to come to these courses, is that there is a difference between feeling bad about it and trying to understand what has really happened. So the moment I recognized this difference from feeling bad about a terrible mock exam, understanding, hey, what exactly went wrong. So that shift in mindset was extremely important. Rather than ruminate about all of the terrible things, I started looking at it from how do I fix this, or what could I do differently. So my journey is yes. From my journey, I would say that it is important to take some time. Of course, take some time if you're feeling bad or nervous or fearful. So take time, live with that feeling, but then try to emerge from it as well.
All right. Yes, Sukhin, thanks for that. In fact, that makes a lot of sense because our minds are like an attic. You can only fit so many things into that. And when you start pushing into things, then other things will start getting out. But I have a very precise pinpoint question for you. How did you analyze your mocks? What were the things which you would look at, and how would you make a mental note and keep that in mind during the next mock?
So the short answer is that I would maintain a log. Every single mock that I would give, I would maintain a Google document or a Google sheet of sorts, and I would look at what went well and, of course, what did not go well. Because sometimes you think that you've marked the right answer, the answer also becomes right, but the reasoning why you marked it right versus what the examiner was thinking is different. So it is also important to examine why have things gone right as well, in addition to why have things gone wrong. So after the end of every single mock or every single mock test that I would give, I would sit down and I would write all of this in my note capturing log. Like, this is where I particularly made a mistake. This is why it happened. Did it happen because of a silly mistake, or was I not clear on the subject? So I would just write a reason next to it, so that if I made the same mistake again, I had something to look back upon. Like, hey, I made this mistake again. Is the reason the same or is the reason different? So trying to track your efforts is always helpful, because then you can understand why are things happening where they are. So yeah, this is the particular tip I would say
Right.
for mocks.
That's the idea, right? Not to make the same mistake twice, and that's why we need to practice so
Exactly.
much. Um, so Sukhin, very quickly in 2 minutes, I would like to know how was your life at TISS? What were the things which you liked? What were the things which you did? And what were the things which you will always remember?
Uh, very tough question because there is so much to like at TISS, and with the fact that I have recently completed my course and I'm still in that phase of nostalgia where
Mm-hmm.
I can feel that it's just behind me. Uh, so there is so much to like at TISS. Number one is, and first and foremost, is the diversity of people and courses that you see at TISS is something that you will rarely find in the country, possibly in the world. So, in the Mumbai campus itself, there are over 40, 45 courses. So, no matter what subject you're studying, if you have questions related to a particular social issue, a particular subject, you always have a set of friends and people available to help you out. Then, when it comes to, I was in the ODCL program, so the program nature in itself was so unique that we had a lot of subjects that I was hearing and studying for the first time from some of the best professors in the country who are teaching as part of the faculty, who are teaching as part of the guest lectures. And thirdly, was that the curriculum has so many fieldwork and those kinds of experiences that you really get to enjoy exploring that this is the field I want to make my career in, this is the field I do not wish to make my career in. And then finally, the kind of friends that you make, the people you meet. Uh, we were the first batch who came in after COVID, and so we found the campus fully open, fully accessible. So and we made the best of it. So there are so many different experiences at this that make it the best, one of the best phases of my life. That it's hard to narrow down upon one to one. Uh, there is not much I didn't like. Uh, I just had the most fabulous time. Uh, Sometimes you might feel that your peers in other B schools have more infrastructure or have access to better facilities. But I think there's a charm and aura of staying in this, of staying in the campus, and I made the most out of it.
Right. It's very subtle way to put it out. And of course, we can see some of the part of the campus in your background. So quite good to know.
Yeah,
I think Sukhin, I think when you were saying that now all that imagery of TISS, that when we used to walk in campus, you have that the famous wall of TISS at in your background. I think there is something about TISS that I think there is always when we used to wake up and when we used to walk into campus for attending our lectures or going to the library or doing at some other stuffs as well. I think there was a positive aura that engulfed us. I think I don't know what was it actually, but there was a sense of positivity that everything is going to end well and we are prepared for it. I think it's the vibe, aura. I don't know what it is, but there was something. And Sukin, you also mentioned about the habits and patterns. And I think to sum it all up, I think there's a quote which I remember that we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence thus is not an act but a habit. So I think the aspirants would gain a lot of those patterns of behaviors that they should imbibe in themselves, make their innate behaviors to crack, to go into TISS and have that positive vibe energy. And before we close, Sukhin, we would like to hear from you in three, if you have in mind one, two, or three words that the aspirant should keep in mind.
yeah. So let me think. One first, what I would say is consistency, as I have been saying for the past few minutes. The other thing is enjoyment. Enjoy the process. You may not go through this process again in your life, or even if you don't get in, it's a very enjoyable process to go over it all. And the third thing I would say is would say, staying calm, uh, understanding that things might not go your way. So it's important to be calm in those situations.
Thanks a lot, Sukhin, for that, and I wish the aspirants really well for the preparation and for the finals at in the GDNP. And thank you, Sukhin, for giving your precious time to us. Thanks a lot.